Hi, this is Austin from Gamma Plus StyleCraft, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Usually we do meet the products. Today we're doing meet the clipper motors. So what we have in front of here right now is all the different clipper motors available by StyleCraft and Gamma Plus, and we're going to break them down and talk about the differences. So first you're going to notice there's two different piles of motors here. You've got over here your linear motors, and what makes them linear is the way that the blade shaft goes side to side. On the other side we have our rotary motors. What makes them rotary is the way that the blade shaft oscillates in a circular motion. So let's start today with our rotary motors. First you're going to have our original rotary motor. This was our Alpha model. So this is similar to like the Alpha, the Protege series, and this was our supercharged rotary motor. At the time, it was one of the more powerful rotary motors on the market. It's still a great rotary motor, but it's not going to be as high torque as some of our newer motors. So this is really, in our entry-level units like the Alpha and the Protege, great for students, great for often for hairstylists. They're super lightweight. They still have a lot of powerful. They last a pretty long time, so great tried and true motor in that series. From there, we had the evolution of our supercharged motor into our super torque rotary motor. So this one really changed the game. You can hear it has a little bit higher RPM, a little more power, a little more torque, and this was the motor that was featured in our super famous Rebel and boosted clippers. So that became the new industry standard for high torque rotary motors, and these are still some of the top in the industry and amazing performers. Really, really great torque, good longevity, a little bit louder than a motor like our supercharged motor in the Alpha, but an incredible, incredible powerful motor. This is also the motor that will be coming, little sneak peek, in our new rival clipper as well. So this is also a super torque rotary motor. And all of these rotary motors that oscillate circularly in a circular motion, they're also called canister motors or DC motors, which is brushed motors, direct current brushed motors. So what all of these motors have, and the next one, are these carbon brushes. So the evolution continues. From here, we have our new Rebel 2.0 with our super carbon canister rotary motor. So this is, of all of our motors, arguably our highest torque motor, definitely the highest torque of the DC series, of the rotary series. And this is our newest and latest drop, and one of the things that makes the Rebel 2 so special, and one of the reasons why we came out with the Rebel 2, was this new super carbon motor technology. Again, industry leading. Really, I strongly believe this is probably the most powerful rotary motor on the market. What's amazing about this is rotary motors are also a little bit more affordable. So for a really great price, you're going to have really lightweight also rotary motors. The only downside is they don't last as long as some of the other motors. They last longer. Our rotary motors last longer than most others, but they don't last as long as something like a linear motor or a brushless motor we're about to talk about in a second. The only real con of a rotary motor is that how long they last, and because it is so powerful, it is a little bit louder. The final evolution of the rotary motor is the brushless motor. So this is our Eon brushless motor. Let's take a step back. Not all motors are created equal. Not all of our motors are created equal. Definitely not the competition's motors compared to our motors are not created equal. They're not the same. So this is our Eon brushless motor. This is our super carbon DC rotary motor. If it's not super carbon, if it's not Eon, it's not the same, and you're going to notice a significant difference in performance. So this is our Eon brushless motor. This one really changed the game, just like the super carbon's about to. What makes this so special, the evolution of the brushed motor became a brushless motor, and the carbon brushes were removed. That's going to make it last a lot longer, because what happens in the brush motors is that's the first thing to go. The carbon brushes rub together, those what generate the torque, propel the motor, propel the blade, and over time those carbon brushes wear out. By removing those brushes, these motors are going to last probably about 3 or 4 times longer than a standard brushed motor. It does make them more expensive, but that is because of that big benefit. The other thing it does is it makes them quieter. So this is going to be your quietest performance of your rotary motors, is your Eon brushless motor, and it does make them a little bit lighter weight as well. So this Eon brushless motor is featured in our Sabre 2.0 clipper. Many would argue the best clipper on the market right now. It's also in the exact same motor in our Shorty clipper, and then also in our Rain clipper. Going back to the Super Torque motors, that is the same motor in our Rebel clipper and our Boosted clipper, and then the C4rbn motor is the same as our Rebel 2.0 and the Boosted Up. So that's kind of the evolution of the rotary motor. Again, we're 6 steps ahead, and we continue to have new technology in the queue that's coming that's just going to blow everyone away. But there you go on the rotary motors. Coming over here, now we have our linear motors. So now all of a sudden everyone has linear motors. They're acting like it's new technology, but it's not. We had our first linear motor in our linear magnetic motor, which was featured it was actually our second clipper we ever made, and it was about 7 or 8 years ago. And that is the same motor in our x-ergo, our ergo, and our rogue. Magnetic motors are amazing. Cordless magnetic motors really changed the game, and we were one of the leaders in pioneering this space. And the benefits of the linear motor, very efficient, because again, rotary motors oscillate, linear motors move side to side, very quiet and very smooth. They also last a very, very long time. Similar durability as far as motor life to a brushless motor. So brushless motors and linear motors are going to be your longest lasting motors. Linear motors are a little bit heavier, so you will notice this is a little bit heavier, which not heavy by any means, but heavier than a rotary motor. And the original magnetic motor, amazing for blending and fades, but not the most torque. Especially the first linear magnetic motor we had was a 5 volt. We worked very closely with our factory to increase it to a 9 volt, which increased the torque. So then all of a sudden, our linear magnetic motors had substantial torque and adequate torque to not only blend and fade, but mow down bulk. But from here, the linear magnetic motor evolved into a linear vector motor. So the evolution of the magnetic motor is to now the vector motor. What's amazing about the vector motor is the intuitive torque control. And what this does is it knows when it experiences resistance, and actually it'll hold the same RPM. So sometimes we say it's increasing speed, which in a way it is, but really what it's doing is keeping stable RPMs no matter the resistance. Whereas with the regular magnetic motor or any of the rotary motors, as it encounters resistance, it's going to slow down a little bit, the RPMs. So with the vector motor, really a game changer. This vector motor, we have our IN2 vector motor. So again, you're going to see a lot of vector motors. It's pretty funny, we are one of the newer brands in the industry, but almost right away became one of the leaders with all of our innovations, designs. I mean, we did so many first-of-a-kind things that it's hard to list them all, but motor technology was one of them. And oftentimes when someone comes out with something after somebody else, usually it's supposed to be better. That has not been the case with the vector motors. Our IN2 vector motor, N2 vector motor, still is industry leading. We've really taken a lot of time to fine tune and perfect our vector motor. So again, not all vector motors are the same. If you're looking for the top performance, you're looking for the StyleCraft or Gamma Plus IN2 vector motor. This is the same vector motor that's in our Instinct series, so all of our Instinct clippers, in our new Gamma Plus Exceed collection, and in the 360 GZ clipper, all have this IN2 vector motor technology. So really powerful. It increases the torque to accommodate resistance. It is a little bit heavier than the rotary motors, but a little bit lighter than the magnetic motor. And then one of the negatives about the vector motor is because it's so powerful and the torque does increase, it is a little bit louder. So this is not going to be one of your quietest motors as well, but if you're just looking for unbelievable performance and torque, that is the Vector motors. Another big difference between linear motors and rotary motors are the RPMs. Typically, RPMs on rotary motors run around 7,200, can vary up and down a little bit. On Vector and magnetic motors, you're looking at 8,000 to 12,000 RPMs, really depending on the PCB. So there it is. Just wanted to introduce the world to our motors, explain the differences, explain that not all motors are created equal. Even within car companies, that's always a great analogy we use. A Ferrari motor is not going to compare to a Honda motor. There's just going to be different performance, different specs. And then even within, let's say a BMW or a Mercedes, even within inside of that own brand, they have a whole level of motors and torque and different specs as well. So world, meet the Gamma Plus and StyleCraft motors. Gamma Plus and StyleCraft motors, meet the world.